Hello, everybody, and welcome to Swinging from the Hips, episode 7. Tonight, it's back to just the three of us in the studio, Rohit, Tarun, and myself, and with you, the audience, the guest of the show. So drop us a question in the chat rooms, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, whatever you're watching us on, and we'll try and discuss it if we get the chance. So along with all the other questions that we've had pop up over the last few weeks. But before we get to the questions, welcome to Rohit and Tarun. Evening, guys. How are you this
Evening.
evening? Fine evening.
How are you, lads?
Well,
Yep,
good. How
we're
you going?
That's good. That's good. Everybody's feeling good and they're feeling fine and ready for another show.
Ready
So,
for another one.
another one. We'll get on to our regular features to start with. And this week, it's This Week in History with Rohit.
Oh yes. So this week there's been a number of births in that, but Walter Hadley, best known for having son Sir Richard Hadley and Dale, he was born this day, 1946 or so. I got the year wrong, but anyway, he was born in this this week and died in 2006, aged 91. He went on that famous tour to England back as the captain, so he's had a lot of history in New Zealand cricket over the years. Now, we also saw a number of other births this week: Wasim Akram, J.R. Reid, Steve Smith, and the famous War Twins also in amongst them all for this week. And also the Geoffrey Boycott. He also managed to make his debut, scoring 48 against Australia. And the joke is that it took him 3 days to get to that 48. But hey, doesn't matter how long it takes, doesn't it? Now, as long as you get him, exactly. Another thing here is that this week, New Zealand completed a famous win to square the Test series against England, 1-1 by winning by 199 runs, which is the second largest in terms of runs in Test cricket at the time. And this was their first win in the 21st century in England. And that was led by Brendan McCullum, that team. And lastly, I'll throw in there, ball of the century, bowled on June the 4th. It was actually his first ball bowled in an Ashes Test match against England. Yes, Shane Warne managed to bowl the ball of the century, which, he's been touted as the greatest, and obviously for good reason too.
Well, I suppose to describe the delivery for those that a bit younger than ourselves and maybe haven't seen it, it is a phenomenal ball. Basically, it's pitched outside leg, squared Mike Gatting up, and then taken his off stump. And you almost want to say gone between his legs.
Yeah,
but between bat and pad anyway.
Most people are thinking it's kicking it. The Gatton ball. Yeah.
Well, if you'd read, did you guys read the Shane Warne's book? I think in that, Terry Jenner or Shane Warne, one of the two actually said, I think it was Terry Jenner, he actually said that wasn't a great ball, Terry Jenner being Shane Warne's coach, mentor.
Right.
I may not be 100% sure, but one of them said it actually wasn't a great ball. The perfect leg spinner's ball apparently was the follow-up, which was to Robin Smith, because that actually took the edge off the bat and it went to first slip, and the leg spinner should be looking to do that as opposed to trying to hit the stumps. This was too straight and it actually hit the stump. The perfect ball would have actually taken the edge and gone to first slip, which is what happened to Robin Smith a few overs later in the day.
Wow.
So apparently So when you're really talking about the one
have you seen the ball though? It bamboozled Gatting. All ends up.
Yeah.
Right?
No, nothing against the ball, but is that making Gatting look really poor? Nothing against the ball.
The look on his face. But the look on his face, right? Gatting's face after he's looking all over the place. He's standing there and just looking around like somebody's come along and
knocked the bails over.
Yeah, he's thinking Ian Healy's knocked the bails over with his hands, right?
Yeah, but then are you saying is that questioning some of the straight breaks he's used to facing from the English county bowlers? Again, I'm just
the nude spinners.
I tell you
there's
what,
nothing wrong with the nudes, But
You cannot forget the face of Mike Gatting when he got bowled. Hey,
No, you can't.
You're
You can't.
always going to remember it. Yeah,
You remember the delivery, and you remember his the way that his face was and the way he looked around.
absolutely.
But let's not gloss over the fact. And this is like, obviously we get together before the show and just have a chat and go over a few notes and the like. And all of us were astounded. This was Shane Warne's first Ashes ball ever. So it's not even the ball, not only just the ball of the century, but it was actually the first ball that he ever bowled in Ashes cricket.
Yeah,
Amazing.
It is,
but
isn't it?
you realize he's played a lot of tests prior, right? I don't know how many, but he did play test matches. Obviously, he's played test matches prior.
Absolutely.
And
This was against England.
and his test debut, a lot of people think of it almost as if that was Shane Warne's first bowl in test cricket, because that's almost when he landed, right? On the world stage. You can't forget his test debut. I think he went 1 for 156, and Ravi Shah absolutely tore him to bits.
He got carted around the field. Totally got carted. I don't know.
It was something like he actually, like, for the first few years, he was actually quite an expensive bowler and didn't actually pick up the wickets because he'd have those. Obviously, he always had the talent, but the consistency wasn't there to produce ball after ball to put the pressure on.
So I again, looking back to his reading the book that I'd read, his first book, I didn't bother with the sequels. I just read the book, and in that he talked about he never quite had belief, and obviously it's pretty well documented that AFL was his first love, and he wanted to play for St Kilda, etc., etc. Even when he was playing for Australia against Sri Lanka, I think he got maybe a run at Tunga, or he got a three for something, three for not many. When he slowly just started to believe, but still wasn't sure, until that West Indies 92 West Indies series, when he bowled that flipper to West Indies to Richard Richardson. That's also one of his favorite top 7 balls or something, where he just kind of shoots through. And that day apparently gave him the self-confidence and the belief to think, hey, I belong at this stage. And he almost started taking it seriously from there on in.
Yep. Because did he get dropped initially as well?
Possibly. You don't remember anything bad that happened to Shane Warne?
Initially, the only time he got dropped was when he got banned for the diuretic or something, wasn't it?
Yes, the weight reduction pill.
Yes. His mum gave it to him. 2003.
Mum gave it to him. Yeah.
He's such a mummy's boy. Pause in with something about England.
It's a Sir Geoffrey Boycott. Yes, Sir.
Sorry about that.
Boycott. Yeah.
No, so you're right. In that first Test series he played in, he was dropped for the 5th Test at the Wacker in Perth.
Who was he dropped for?
Sorry?
Who replaced him?
Oh, sorry, don't know.
Oh, we're going to have to find a better producer.
Change the stato. Can we hire another stato?
Well, right. So, hey, enough waffle. We're moving along. We'll move
I
to
had
Tarun.
a question for Tarun about that. Talking about that flipper, isn't that one of the hardest balls to bowl as a leggy? Takes a bit of time to get that right?
I don't know, because I never bowled it. So I couldn't tell you.
You never tried to bowl the flipper?
No, I could bowl it. I could bowl it. I actually bowled it a handful of times in games, and I got a couple of wickets with it. But I'll be honest with you, like the leg spin, that ball, your stock ball, I found was the toughest one to master. It's like a dog's tail, It just, you could never straighten it. And in this case, you could never curl it or turn it. So you spend so much time and energy trying to perfect that, you never could quite dedicate enough time. And if you read Terry Jenner's books or articles of Shane Warne's books, or speak to some of the true former greats from years gone by, they always say, look, if you can nail your leg spinner, you actually don't need anything else.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you have absolute command on pace, flight, delivery, line, length, the whole lot on the leg spinner, You genuinely don't need anything else.
And
And
are
I pretty much
you sort
spend
of
all my
changing
time
the
trying to do it.
position in terms of doing the leg spinner? Are you sort of just positioning the seam slightly differently as to how much turn you want to achieve? Like if you want it to be a bit more less turn, you just get the seam to point a bit more towards first slip. If you wanted to really turn it sideways, you're pointing it towards second or whatever. Is that how it works?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, you can change your wrist into that direction, or you can change the ball in the direction. When we bring Taz back on again in the future, we can talk to him because the Asians are phenomenal at it. Asians actually change the angle of the ball in their hands,
Right.
so it will land on the leather as opposed to the seam. So it'll still have revolutions and spin and everything on it, but by hitting the leather, it won't turn and it'll slide through and get you LB.
Yeah, right. Yep.
So you
more
have
the Anil Kumble ball.
Well, no, it's more a Yasser Shah ball or
Yasser Shah.
Ashwin ball where they go, oh, it's an absolute minefield. One's turning, one's not. Well, it's not actually. These guys are playing tricks, and we're making it worse than it is.
That's
Yeah.
right. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
that's definitely, as you
wondered
said, we'll
about
have to get Taz on. We'll have to get Taz on, and we'll have to have a spin bowlers masterclass.
We need a bit more knowledge amongst us. Yeah.
That's what I thought I'd ask Leggy.
There's the guy who played international cricket.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. Right, we'll move on to the in the news this week with Tarun.
In the news, let's start with Vinci Premier League T10. Last time we caught up, we had 6 rounds, and now they've already, in the week gone by, they've completed the round robin stage and they moved into semi-finals and the finals. In the first semi-final, it was the Grenada Divers scoring 82 for 9 in the allocated 10 overs. It is a T10 competition. And they scored 82 for 9 and they lost to Salt Pond Breakers. In the second semi-final, Lasso Freya Hikers scored a mammoth 150 for 2. Geez, that's 15 and over for 10 overs. That's solid. And they beat Botanic Garden Rangers 117 for 7. Nice little fight, but oh well. Fittingly, the top 2 teams from the round robin competition made it to the finals, which was the Salt Pond Breakers taking on Lasso Freya Hikers. Batting first, Salt Pond Breakers scored 100 for 6, and that was more than enough as they held Lasso Freya Hikers 81 for 9. So good competition overall. And the team that actually topped the table with 8 wins or 7 wins out of 8 games actually went on to win the competition. Fantastic. Staying in the Caribbean, CPL has submitted a proposal to host the entire CPL in Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago is a country with a population of 1.39 million, and their COVID cases are only 117. So that will probably go off. Still staying in the Caribbean, the West Indies have announced quite a big squad, a 14-man, 25-man squad, 14-man test squad, and 11 travelling subs for a 7-week tour to England, of which 3 regular players or regular white ball players have declined the invitation or their call up to the test tour. Darren Bravo, who we all know about, and it's well documented his run-ins with the governing body. This time around, though, he's chosen to stay home. He's obviously from Trinidad and Tobago. Shimron Hetmeyer and Kimo Paul also turned down the opportunity to join the test side, opening the door for Nakumra Bonner and Shema Holder for their first test call-ups. Also making a comeback is Jermaine Blackwood, who actually scored a test 100 against England back in 2015. This team will be travelling by a chartered flight, will be spending 7 weeks in England playing in biosecure environments for 3 test matches. Shema Holder has literally broken through sheer weight of performance, taking 36 wickets at 18.9 in the regional first class competition. Bonner, who is 31, is making a comeback after an 8-year hiatus. That's 2012. That's the last time I played international cricket. There's hope for me yet if I was 31.
Yeah, that's what we told you before.
Yeah.
He scored 523 runs at an average of 58. Okay, that's that's awesome. Blackwood makes his comeback on the back of some strong performances. 768 runs at 51.2. This is all three show that Roger Harper, the chairman of selectors, is looking at domestic performances, and they are backing domestic performances. That's awesome to hear. Moving out of there, the pay cuts are looming in Australia, and they're hoping the staff cuts will save them some money in what they predict to be 142 million hole. Closer to home, New Zealand cricket. So New Zealand cricket's deputy CEO Anthony Crummy departs New Zealand cricket after 5 years working with New Zealand cricket. And then Trans-Tasman with White Ferns is scheduled in for September, with the Black Caps going over for 3 one-days and T20s starting Australia Day in January. Community cricket, this is probably the coolest story of them all, for us anyway. Cricket clubs in Wellington will not be asked to pay an affiliation fee to be members of Cricket Wellington, which is awesome. Cricket Wellington is now wearing close to a 200k loss just to make sure that cricket is accessible and available to all Wellingtonians. So well done, Cricket Wellington. Well done, General Manager Liz Green, on this great initiative, and hopefully Auckland Cricket and other MAs follow suit. That's the news.
Yeah, look, that community news is absolutely fabulous. Yeah, I read that myself, and I was sort of thinking, that if you want to set an initiative to get people to get involved in the game, there's one there. As the fact is that don't worry about paying to play. We just want you to play this year and enjoy the game.
But okay, let's stay on that, right?
Yep.
What about next year? Are you setting the standard? Are you setting the scene for next year?
I think there's exceptional circumstances, obviously, at the moment. And really what you're doing is what's happening in a few other environments outside of sport as well as in other sports, is if you're basically just trying to keep everybody engaged, to throw a bone out to people that are, they're finding things difficult. You think about the players, and there will be players that are community cricket players that have lost their job. That'll be saying, hey, I can't afford to pay, I don't know, $150, $200 in fees or whatever it will be. And so, to throw that sort of lifeline out to them to say, no, we want you to remain in our game is a good thing. So, and I think people will see it for what it is the fact is that it is an exceptional circumstances. Yeah. This is a, I've forgotten the word that they keep using, but anyway, so I don't see the expectation from players for it to be happening on a ongoing basis after this year.
Okay, so let's go further back. Let's strip it further. In New Zealand, we're a modern society. We're a tier 1 nation, you'd say.
Yep.
Should sport be free for all? Should sport be heavily subsidized further than it already is, and made really available to the entire? Yep.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's an interesting one. Rohit, you wanted to have a go on that?
There's a bit of a case for that, isn't there, Tarun, I reckon? Because isn't that, sports brings people together as well in communities and that. So if you've got more people out there, less chance of them getting up to mischief in other ways. And it builds a good...
together.
Yeah.
All together.
Yeah. But I feel there is something in that one there.
You do have to be careful because one thing I learned in my sales career is the fact is that when you give things away for free, there's an element of not appreciating what you've actually got. So what you'll have is a lot of people say, oh, yeah, I'll sign up, which is great, right? And you got the numbers at the beginning of the season. But then because I haven't paid anything, this is like, oh, I can't be asked playing anymore. And so they don't turn up halfway through the season because there is no appreciation for the fact that there's something being given to them. So it is a fine balancing act. When you look at the health statistics and that, to suggest that sports be made free would be a fantastic thing, wouldn't it? Get everybody's fat asses off the couches and doing some activity would be a great initiative. But as it's come back to the fact...
Sorry, no, keep going.
Yeah, I was just saying, I was just going to reiterate the fact that there's got to be, if there's no value in something for somebody, then that they can treat it flippantly.
But you're bringing people...
Sorry, right. Steve
Yeah,
Noblo,
no,
who's the chairman of Community Cricket Club, just jumped in and made a comment there that there's more costs to club cricket than just affiliation fees, such as cost of cricket balls. And we all know how expensive cricket balls are.
Well,
And
cricket balls are
unlike other
yeah.
sports, this is one-time use only, right?
Yep.
You know, and the running costs as well. So yeah, you're right. It does add up. But again, that's exactly what I'm saying. Should we be able to? Is there a way to subsidize it further and further to actually make it affordable? And like you say, some clubs are charging upwards of close to $300 for the season, and that's not. Cricket is relatively a cheap sport compared to some of the other sports. Football's ridiculous.
Yep. Yeah. Yes, it is.
is it?
It is.
All you need is
Yeah.
a pair of footy boots, isn't it?
No,
Why
but
is
there's
it
a
so
lot
costly?
of
I
there's
think
a
subs
large
hit up to
affiliation fee.
Yeah, subs
Sorry?
hit up to about $300 maybe per child. So if you got two kids playing a winter code, that's 600. A summer code, that's 1200. And then you want them to have life skills like swimming. So you're really starting to tag into about a couple of grand just to
Yeah.
give them opportunities.
Stop it, Taryn. You're gonna make me cry.
And isn't that
I've got
half the
three kids.
reason to have that subsidised? Because that way you can still get the kids out there participating.
Yeah.
That's the good reason for it at the end of the day, isn't it? Really. Because, you know, like you said before, dad loses job or whatever, the main income earner, and there's little Johnny can't go and play the sport.
Can't play sport. Look, there's a lot of elements to it, and you know, obviously, there's a lot of, as Stephen sort of said, there's a lot of elements outside of just the affiliation costs. But then on the flip side of it, the government needs to look at sport and sort of saying, well, what's the cost of an obese child and the health care that obese child is going to need versus subsidizing their sport involvement and therefore giving them the chance of having a healthier lifestyle.
That's it.
And that's happening. That's happening. I know there used to be, I don't know if there will be any more, target population funds where a few years ago, I think it was Community Sport or Active had actually set aside some funds towards the Pacifica or Samoan community and Indian community, because then identified that diabetes was quite big within these communities, so they wanted to come out and actively get these communities physically active, which hopefully will help with their health conditions.
Yep.
Aaron Ranchard, who's a regular listener and probably listening to Dan Carter's podcast at the moment, might shed some light on this. And even Stephen Noblo, they might be able to shed some light on this. So if you are listening, feel free to add some beef to this.
Absolutely. Hey, look, and then also in the news that you mentioned, obviously the selection of the West Indian cricket team, and some interesting sort of developments there, or players opting out and new players coming in. So obviously just the players that have decided not to go: Darren Bravo, Shimron Hetmeyer, and Chemo Paul. And obviously at this stage, Cricket West Indies have said that they won't hold this decision against them and that it won't affect their future selection. How do we feel about that comment from Cricket West Indies when we know the political machinations that have happened in that part of the world in terms of cricket in the past?
Well, what do you reckon, Rohit?
Yeah, are they staying back because they're, like you mentioned, I think it was their CPL team, so they're going to get paid better, possibly playing the T20?
Well, they're actually saying it's the reason is because of coronavirus. The concerns around that, and obviously, I mean, you know, you have to say when you look at it. I mean, we're based in New Zealand, and we look at the way that we've basically killed coronavirus. But you couldn't say that the same for the UK. You wouldn't feel confident traveling to the UK and saying that you're going to. I mean, they're going to be in a tight, biosecure environment. So you'd like to think that because you're not going to be engaging with anybody outside of your bubble, as we've coined the global phrase in New Zealand, you know, you should be safe. But do you want to take that chance?
Well, it's an interesting one because, okay, let's look at it individually, right? Chemo Paul, Shimron Hetmeyer are both Guyanese.
Yep.
The cost of living, you'd think, is a little lower than Trinidad and Tobago, where Darren Bower is from.
Right.
Shimron Hetmeyer and Akima Paul both have held or still hold IPL contracts. So they earn enough wage there. So
Yep.
financially, they might be a lot more secure and stable. Interesting that Guyana only has 153 cases. So I wonder where the apprehension's coming from. My guess would be they must have family and friends in the UK, which has kind of made them wary and thought, okay, we don't need this. What's surprising for me is Darren Bravo. He hasn't got an IPL contract. Cricket West Indies has his only stream of income. By foregoing 7 weeks of work,
Hey,
that's challenging. So that is a surprise for me. I'm not surprised with the others, and if anything, the IPL boys can pick and choose to an extent.
It's interesting, isn't like these are young, fit lads as well, right? And the actual COVID-19 is respiratory issues, elderly. It's going to affect them more so than people that are younger and fitter. And if you're biosecure, surely you're in a much safer environment through having that biosecurity. And like you said earlier, not going to be exposed to any people outside of that. So your chance of catching it is slim to null, you'd think, wouldn't it?
absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's going on?
Well, look, I really hope it's not held against them. And I think with the changes that West Indies cricket has gone through on an administrative front, I genuinely believe that won't be held against them.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think. I think they've changed, and it's some of the old brigade or I don't want to say true West Indians, but some of the old team, old brigade has returned at the helm.
Old schools, yeah.
Yeah, so and they want to lift West Indies back to its former glory. So I think there'll be a lot more transparency now. Again, I'm not a West Indian, so I don't know, but that's how it seems on the outer and from the outer anyway.
And then also, as you mentioned, the Chima Holden, Holden. That's Holder actually being brought into the side. Obviously, played in the under-19 World Cup for West Indies in 2016. His first time in the squad, but his is that 36 wickets in the last season at 18.91. Basically, sort of saying, "Pick me," and he has been.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, again, and it's good reward for domestic performance, and that's probably what you want to see as a player, to know that there is a shot, and there's nothing worse, I suppose, to some of these guys, not to most players, if they just look at the CPL and start picking players of potential out of there. You start wondering what is the purpose of playing the other competitions if CPL or the IPL becomes the be all and end all,
Yep.
So it is nice that they are looking at domestic performances, especially the regional competitions, and not just what they can do on a T20 front. So that is quite neat, and yeah.
Yep. And I suppose, just to tidy that up, Jason Holder will be kept in the side. So no surprises there, really, is there?
No. He's done his time, so they've invested him in heavily. And look, what could be even more interesting, in my mind, is West Indies, if they get on the right wicket, and it's worth looking at it, they might just give England a shake, because England's probably going to try and have quite a few countries touring and having test specialists and whatnot happening. That they might get a bit cute, and West Indies might just be able to actually push them a lot further than people expect them to do so. And bear in mind, they're going to Taunton or somewhere down south as well. Old Trafford's obviously a test venue.
They
But
got the
other
Aegis Bowl in Southampton.
Southampton, that's tiny. So these boys can swing into the arms of Jesus and actually pump them.
Yeah. I was going to say, look, the other thing that will be the case is that nobody's played any cricket for a long time, and it doesn't matter how good you are, and then obviously with the training and the net sessions, there's no replacement for game time out in the middle, is there? And Taryn, you'd be in the best position to comment on that. Nothing beats playing the game.
Yeah, you're right, and it'll be interesting to see how they'll try and tackle that, because saying that there's only 15 playing days, which means there's no warm-up game because no one else is playing cricket. So these boys, having 26 players, will probably be allowed to have, after their first 2 weeks, have some internal games themselves.
Right.
And
coaches-
so that's probably how they'll get accustomed to it. They've got 25 players, so they'll probably have open shadow sessions or open wicket sessions to try and get themselves up to speed. But not many of them swing the ball. So how do you replicate facing a James Anderson? If you play the county side, you might play a club bowler not a county bowler, who probably is used to swinging the ball.
Yes.
But we're seeing it's a muchness with the Duke's ball on an English surface, which is better than nothing, but it's not ideal going up against the likes of Anderson and Brook.
Yeah, hadn't actually factored in the fact that, as I said, they're going to be facing swing bowlers that are used to swinging a Duke ball, and they won't be used to that themselves. Are you aware of which ball they actually use in the Caribbean? Is it a Kookaburra? Is it Dukes? Dukes, okay.
It's a different Dukes.
Ah, okay.
It's a hard-wearing, tailored. Well, that's what they had when I was there, and I think that's what they use. Cookies probably wouldn't last on that surface.
Right.
They'll probably rip up. So they have more like a hard-wearing Dukes kind of thing. I'm pretty sure that's what they still use. It doesn't, different weather, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't behave the same way.
Interesting. Wow, I didn't even realize that they'd have a different ball for a different surface. I just learned something, and that's what the show's about.
Would they not bring in a local lad in part of their bubble who can swing the ball around for their training sessions? Be an idea.
Probably won't be allowed.
Yeah,
test it up and put them in the bubble for a couple of weeks or whatever.
Look, I sort of think
it'd be a hell of a time for those boys. Whoever gets into the bubble, I'd pay to get into that bubble.
Absolutely.
25 West Indians for 7 weeks.
That'd be a great opportunity.
Oh.
We do have to remember that at this point in time, it sounds like it's fait accompli, but the UK government still hasn't approved the games to go ahead, sport to commence.
EPL starting in 2 weeks. Premier League starting in 2 weeks.
It's like cricket. They keep saying, "Oh, yep, we're starting. This is happening, that's happening." But from what I can hear, that from the reporting that I've been doing in the mornings, our sports morning briefings, every story I read, all the sources I read, I say basically on the provision of the UK government giving the go ahead. So, but it sounds, as I say, like a fait accompli. So, but there might be sort of rules around who's allowed into the bubbles and stuff like that as well.
No, that's it. So they'll be chartered in on a flight.
Yep.
Be interesting to see where they charter out of, because they'll be coming out of 6 to 8 different islands. So they'll all have to get to an island or to Miami and then charter out from there.
Right.
And they'll probably get, again, will they fly into London and then jump on a bus and then move up? Once they get there, these biosecure environments are the venues that have hotels tagged on site, and that's it. But literally, it's a tour. It is a tour of duty. You're either at the ground or you're in the hotel. You will not be allowed to venture out. You will not be allowed to go visit family, which many West Indians have family in the British Isles, but none of that. They're used to doing that, but none of that. And they'd have a strong fan following too, so they'd have to really refrain and keep it amongst themselves. CPL is talking about getting all the overseas players in, and keeping them in team bubbles, so the teams in the CPL cannot mix and mingle. Within the team, they're talking about breaking them into groups of 5,
right,
and then keeping them into groups of 5 within teams as well.
Effectively, that seems a bit silly, because at the end of the day, they're going to have to play with each other, so they're going the bubble's going to cross. So you might as well just keep the larger bubble together in it, like what they're doing in the UK. Yeah,
and I mean, again, it doesn't baffle me, but Trinidad, which has got a population of 1.39 million, has 117 COVID cases. Guyana, 780,000 people, has 150 cases. So you take it with a grain of salt because it's probably not well documented nor tested. But that's not a lot of cases. So is it a case of them just going through process, or are they actually worried something from overseas will come into their country and then go through the country?
Right. Yep. And decimate their own country people. Hey, look, I suppose we better move it along. We'll get on to some other topics and like. But just to answer something from Simon Hughes that's in the old chat rooms around how much money did New Zealand cricket get? I don't believe that they got any money today. And the reason for that is that, again, cricket is effectively in hiatus at the moment. Any tours that were planned were overseas. I think they were going to be going to play Ireland. Or up in Europe anyway. And so because there's nothing local, only sports that have got local competitions planned. For example, the local basketball competition, the NBL, they missed out because their competition hadn't been announced. It was a week later from when the sports that have received their money today. So I don't believe New Zealand cricket got any money today. Yeah, so the NBL actually is having a competition that's starting, but because they announced it a week later than everybody else, when you had to have your competitions up and running, or announced, not up and running, but announced, they didn't get any money today either. So so I don't believe New Zealand cricket got any money today. Yeah. So
Bad time, isn't it?
Bad timing. Well, yes and no. I mean, like, as they've actually had, I mean, obviously they were upset about it, and we're digressing from cricket, but they were, just to finish it off, they were upset about it, but the government have said, look, this isn't the final round. We will have more rounds of sports funding happening, and so they'll be caught up in that, most likely.
Yeah, because I know Auckland Basketball, ABSL actually, all of their employees are working as volunteers at the moment. They've already cut people, but I've heard that a lot of the employees are now working as volunteers through the space.
So let's move on to from the news, and something that's related a little bit to the news that we've just had is that obviously with the West Indies England tour likely to be the first cricket that goes ahead as long as the government approves it, they're talking about having home-based umpires instead of neutral umpires. What are our thoughts on home-based umpires?
Yeah, I don't see any issue with it these days when you've got the TV replays and that available, I think having the neutral umpires back in the day was all about with the home umpire giving the LBW decisions and so forth to the home team, right, in their favour.
Yep.
Any decision, anyone, not just an LB, call behind, you name it.
Yeah.
All sorts. Well, I think Javed Miandad was ever given out LBW in Pakistan, was he? That's the famous sort of saying.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
There's a few other ones around like that too, isn't there? So
we obviously famously had Fred Goodall over our part of the world.
That's right. That's it. You can go back to some of those matches in Australia where the visiting teams always had the poor rub of the green over there, and in many cases.
Oh, still is the case, I think. It's still the case in Australia.
Still the case.
It's still the case. Yeah.
I think actually just to go down recently, just with the last few series, you see basically, especially with the DRS and the use of the DRS, if it's just hitting the stumps, you'll find that the Australian team will get the advantage of it. Whereas if the opposition, if it was just hitting the stumps, it would be a not out decision against the Australian batter, sort of thing. So you can take it upstairs. You can have the review, but because it'll be within the margin of error, it'll stay with the on-field decision.
Yeah.
So you're still seeing an element of it. But one thing I suppose we should mention is the fact is that with the home-based umpires comes an extra review per innings. So basically, if it's Test match cricket, you're going to get an extra one for the first and an extra one for the second innings. And obviously,
3, is it?
Yep, that's right. And then also within the one-dayers and the T20s, you get an extra review as well.
Oh, that's okay. I was about to say they need to add a review purely because you want to take that away and you want to give the players a chance to kind of question more than a standard thing. But then, look, why not have your international marquee neutral umpires? But with technology is there a need to have neutral umpires and pay them $300,000 and fly them around the world when you're looking to reduce costs and keep people in jobs.
I thought you were going to get really controversial there for a second, Taryn, and say, do we need umpires?
Oh, no, we do need umpires. And there's some absolute pork chops to play the game. Somebody needs to control them.
No, you're right. I mean, like, when we look at the way that umpiring has developed and evolved, especially since the evolution of the DRS system, we've seen LBW decisions for spin bowlers in particular have actually increased from 17% up to 21%. So you're actually starting to see umpires on field actually making more decisions, and they're getting them right too.
You reckon they're getting them right?
Well, I mean, obviously, you're still going to... I mean, like, the DRS system is there for the howler, right? But in saying that, they generally are... I think the standards have improved. I think it's just the game has improved. So as long as part of the game, your officiating has improved. I mean, you're always going to have those howlers come along. You're always going to have... We're talking about humans. We've got the batters make mistakes. The umpire is going to make a mistake. But on the whole, I think as a whole, you're starting to see an improvement. And when we go back to what we talked about with the Australian umpires, or umpiring in Australia, we should say now, because you got neutral umpires there, but you sort of do see a bit of favoritism, but it's favoritism in a more subtle way, as opposed to a ball that's basically crashing into the middle of middle stump, given not out.
Yeah, could have been anything.
Could have been anything. Well, I love that. The one that I remember is actually we were trying to win the Test series against Australia, and it was in Melbourne, and Richard Hadley was basically bowled out, and he was still going. He's just bowling, but Danny Morrison was able to pick Mike Whitney, and there's this like the commentators on the TV going, well, it wasn't going over the stumps, and it wasn't going down the offside, it wasn't going down the leg side, so one can only assume it was going under the stumps.
That's right. I remember seeing that recently and still got blood boiling.
I'll try and question a little bit more on that umpiring front, purely because, but yes, players make mistakes. Totally get that, and umpires can make mistakes. However, an umpire's mistake costs someone else their career. A player's mistake costs himself. An umpire's mistake, they are basically in charge of other people's livelihoods. You get something wrong. Let's say there's a player on his last legs. He probably knows he'll probably get dropped if he doesn't get score runs here, and he gets fired. You think of it from a bowler point of view. He's worked his backside off to try and create a chance, and he doesn't get the dismissal. You don't know what the domino effect of that could have been. That could have just reignited his day and really pushed him further to get a haul and set himself up for the rest of the season. Yet he could see himself drop out of the side because that didn't work for him. So I'm not blaming the umpire, but the umpire is also in it.
You know, I'm sort of like I said what I said before, but I'm so agree with you on that comment. And the fact is that the umpires do hold players' careers in their hands as well.
Yeah, it's something.
I'm sitting on the fence effectively, aren't I? Moving.
It has happened, hasn't it?
Yep, it has happened. Absolutely has happened. Well, I suppose moving on to the on umpiring decisions, we've got one of the scenarios that's come up in the last few weeks. So we're going to put it out there. We're going to have a bit of discussion. Really love to hear the feedback in the chat rooms on this one. So, Rohit, I know you're the one that sort of picked up on this coming through. So I'm going to let you, if you've got that in front of you, otherwise,
no.
The scenario.
Where is it? Let me have a quick browse through this. We've got a lot through here. Here we go. Scenario, right. So this is something that I came across, and it got me thinking, actually, going, I wonder what the actual real call is. Now, I've got my thoughts about it, but let me spill this out for you guys, and let's see what you're thinking out there. So a batsman is given out LBW on the field. The batsman, reviews, and in the meantime, the ball's tickled away into the boundary. Now, it's gone upstairs, and the third umpire spots an inside edge and overturns the decision. Okay, so he's originally given out LBW, and he's inside edged it. It's gone gone for 4. Umpire picks, the third umpire picks it up. So what's the next step? And there's 4 different options here. 1, 4 runs are awarded to the batsman, as there was an inside edge. 2, 4-leg byes are awarded to the batting team in sync with the on-field call. 3, dead ball, and the ball will have to be re-bowled. Or number 4, it is treated as a dot ball. So those are the 4 options that we're talking about for this type of scenario in play. And what do you guys think?
Do you know the answer? Do you know the answer, Rohit?
I haven't researched to find out the answer.
So
No.
we're not going to get the answer. We're going to spend the next 15 minutes arguing about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
somebody out there put me out of my misery.
I'm going to go with the first call, right? The guy's hit it. He's got an inside edge, and it's gone for 4. So to me, it should be 4 runs. Because you can easily, just as being given out, if a keeper's caught it and was given not out, and it's gone upstairs. Same sort of scenario. So I think batsman's done well enough to get an inside edge, 4 runs, even though the team's appealed for an LBW.
Throw. Yeah, I'm going on the. I am torn between a dot ball and 4 runs, but I'm gonna go with the 4 runs awarded, because at the end of the day, just because the opposition's gone up doesn't mean that you can't score runs. So effectively, why would you not be able to score the runs? As you said, if it went upstairs and there's a tickle, they've gone up for LBW. There's a tickle on the small little tickle there. There's a hotspot, shows a little spot there, and it goes through to the keeper. Is that going to be awarded as a caught behind, even though they appealed for LBW? Yeah, exactly. So then, if that is going to be given as caught behind, surely you can get 4 runs for it if it runs away for 4.
The ball, again, I don't know. My angle would be, I have a really bad feeling, well, not a bad feeling, a strong suspicion that the ball would be deemed dead as soon as the play has been interjected by an umpire's call. Or either the umpire's call, or when the player's gone for that sign, the ball would then be dead.
At that time,
dead in the sense it turns into a dot. Okay, so let's try and work backwards. Let's try and solve this. Let's backwards. Forget the boundary. I'm the batter, Rohit. You're the non-striker. Ashwin's the bowler. Ashwin's bowled it. I've got an inside edge onto myself, and it's just trickled here. You've pulled me through for a single. I've been given out. We've completed the single. Well, sorry, no, we haven't completed it. I've been given out, but I've just gone off and finished the single anyway, and gone bang there. So, and we know this has happened many times. Has the batter been asked to go back to the striker's end, or is that single completed?
Yeah, I mean, like, I've never. I'll be honest.
The question with another question. So
to me, that's a run. That's a run.
Well,
I think that a run is given, right? Yeah, I think a run will get given.
Yeah,
but the ball in this case, the ball is traveling elsewhere. So as soon as you call it, I think it goes dead. I think it goes dead, and it creates a dot. It's not re-bowled.
You're saying it's a dot ball.
I think it will be a dot ball.
So that means the bowler's got a dot ball for this, and the batting team has been penalised now.
Missed out on
3 runs, or missed out on a ball to opportunity to score runs, right? So
now I'm thinking, well, maybe it will be runs, because let's assume this exact scenario plays out on the last ball of a game with 2 runs to win, or 4 runs to win. And then it goes. So
that's it. Yeah. Are you going to call that a dot ball?
Let's open up some wounds here. It's the final ball of the World Cup.
I'm not over
it. You need 4 to win, and you've tickled it down. You've tickled it fine, and you've gone up. No, that's not fine. I'm smiling.
No, it's not smiling.
Nah.
I still don't find it funny.
No. But that is a scenario, isn't it? You know, the last ball of the game, and the players have gone up, Here we go. Is it a run or not?
Something like this happened without the dead ball, the DRS, but in the IPL, there was a no ball of sorts. So a game took place, and a result, last ball of the game, and then there was a result, and the replay showed there was a no ball, and they called the game back.
The
They called it
replay
and
showed
they
it. So
replayed
hang on. Just to be clear, the replay showed it, but nobody went upstairs for it, right?
No, the replay showed it, so they went to no ball,
Yeah,
and they bowled the extra ball.
So
And that
basically,
changed the result of the game.
the director back in the truck made the decision on it.
No, they, as any result, the last ball of the game, blah blah, and it comes up, and then they're like, "Hey, that's a no ball. Hang on."
Yep.
And then the umpire's going, "Oh crap! Oh, here we go. We got to play this again," and they completely altered the game. It doesn't answer our question,
Yep.
but makes you wonder if there's powers to allow the game to run or not.
We'll have
I
to.
really want to answer on this now.
That's like you said it there. It's the producer or whoever's in the truck that's made that decision on the field, not the umpire.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. That scenario that Taryn's talking about is that the director in the truck has made the decision because he's seen, I've seen a no ball. I'm going to put that up on the big screen. I'm going to show replays of it.
But here we go.
I was going to say, isn't there, from that point of view, isn't there an element also, isn't there something about having crossed the boundary rope? Like a batsman cannot be called back once he's crossed the boundary rope. So again, it depends on, have they stayed on the pitch to celebrate, or have they got off the pitch quickly? In which case, they shouldn't be allowed to be called back.
Okay, so here's an angle then. So let's say there's an overthrow, right?
Yep.
Like, let's just picture the Ben Stokes thing. You run hell for leather to try and save that ball from going to the boundary, because if it doesn't go to the boundary, it's a gentleman's agreement, no one runs.
Yep.
However, if it goes to the boundary, the umpire has to give it as a boundary.
That's right.
So let's put it into our situation. Because it's hit the boundary, does he have to then go there and then go there?
That's what I say.
Yep. Good point. That's it. That's our answer.
It is.
That's our answer.
It's come off the bat.
I don't believe it, but I'm thinking, Why would he go there, leg buys, and then four? If it was going down leg without any bat on it. What if it was going down leg without any bat on it?
Yeah, is that not? The third umpire would then say not out, wouldn't it? Because it's going to be.
Yeah, he's taken it back. He's gone leg by. Yeah, he's done the sign of leg by and then gone four.
Yeah.
Now
Tarun's looking like one of those baseball guys who gives all different signs as to what hit and what run when.
I think I've seen that scenario play out one time.
I have seen that scenario played before where, the decision was reversed, or and then they had to signal four. I have seen that. I can't nail the actual circumstances of that happening, but I have actually seen that before.
Yeah. So
you're gonna have to, because you brought this to the table, you're gonna have to find us the official
we need an answer.
But I mean, we haven't got anyone that's put anything up on the
No, nobody's. We haven't got any feedback on it. No. So
no one's gone and googled it.
We'll go and see if our next one that a curly, well, not curly one. This is the one that split sort of seems to be split 50-50. I'm actually I don't understand why it's 50-50, but I'm going to chuck this out there. Another one in terms of along these lines. Mancad, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Rohit?
I'm thinking.
I'm a yes. This is like, I mean, what's that? Everybody. So we got 3 yeses. It's out. Yeah.
The batsman's getting an advantage running halfway down the track before the ball's bowled.
Yep. He is not supposed to have left his crease until the bowler has let the ball go.
You don't have to be halfway down that. Literally, on the television, TV games, it's inches.
Yeah.
Because at the other end, you only have to be in or out by that amount.
Yep.
Right? It's a frame. Even if you're left by a frame, you've given yourself an advantage because it is a frame that saves your ass at the other end.
Well, that
You in
wasn't.
agreement? Sorry, would you be in agreement of giving, like the good old days, a warning to the batsman at the non-strikers end before you actually, because that happened in that World Cup, the under-20s World Cup or something. One of the players ran in.
19, so it was in
manhandled
the
the guy.
final. I think it was in the
19th.
final for the West Indians.
Yeah, but he did give warnings. To be fair, he did give warnings.
That was to New
Okay.
Zealand, I think.
No. It was wasn't. It was West Indies, but it was. I think it might have been against India,
Yeah, it was
or
West Indies.
it was an.
I thought
Yeah,
it was, maybe it was India. Okay.
It was against the subcontinent country.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
So,
it's early.
Oh, that was a bit boring,
Came out.
though. We didn't have an argument.
So, hey, I think it's got to be out. Why
It's
would
out.
it not be out?
Why would it not be out? Exactly. Well, any other part of the game, if you do something, if you handle the ball while the ball's rolling back to your stumps, you're out handle ball.
Yeah, it's
Ravi Ashwin, who did that to Josh Butler
Oh
in
yes,
the IPL.
yes,
And there was massive uproar saying it unsportsmanlike, etc. He posted a couple of months ago that very post of him running him out. It's an umpire view as well. He posted it and on his Instagram, I think, or Twitter or Instagram, whatever they use, saying, "Hey guys, stay home and stay safe for the COVID thing."
Yeah, that's gold. Stay home. Stay home, stay safe.
So this has happened before in a test match as well. I think Brendan McCullum running out Murali or someone in Sri Lanka.
Muralitharan. It's Muralitharan.
Yep. And that was from those two not running and making their end and staying home in their ground. And the ball's been thrown in. And he's gone down the other end to celebrate the guy's century.
Yeah, but he never. And he never.
Hit one off the hip. Sangakkara's hit one off the hip. And he's got to his 100. Murali's got to the non-strikers. He's put his bat down. And then he's walked over to congratulate him. And this is the former McCullum. This is not the New Zealand great that we see on TV. This is his alias, the younger McCullum. They got him out.
But the ball's still in play. It's not dead until it's returned, isn't it?
Hey, look, this is the same team or the brand name that didn't bowl any bounces when Phil Hughes died. So it's an internal thing, right? It's who you are. It's who you choose to be. So when you know that he's not cheating, he's not stealing a run. He's not intending to score a run. So technically, he's probably not out.
Yeah.
Because what is a run out? A run out is when you're deemed run out when you're looking to score a run. Otherwise, you're stumped.
But they recalled Murali in that one, didn't they? I thought. I don't think they actually went through it. They did go through it.
Went through with it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's happened before.
Being called for chucking from Daryl here. He can't even congratulate his teammates. Get
wait for the ball to get in the hands and then go and congratulate him like that's on this one.
I thought they're going to say, "Hey, overrates." They're going to say overrates.
One of the greatest battles on the field that wasn't between players but between an official and a player was Murali and Daryl here.
Absolutely.
Hey, look, just before we wind things up today, I'm Simon Hughes with the question out. Next T20 league that's likely, well, the next one to come back up again. I assume actually, like, it's probably the IPL.
Shall we take bets on it? CPL.
CPL. Oh, okay. CPL's going to start first?
CPL, well, unless England push even earlier and get the NatWest Blast up started, maybe late August, but I think CPL is around that time anyway.
Okay. Yep. All right. So it's actually going to be CPL or Vitality Blast.
CPL. I'd go CPL.
You go CPL.
I think England's going to faff around with this health and COVIDs and whatnot. Yeah.
And you think IPL's
and even if the Vitality Blast does get underway, it'll have no overseas internationals in it. It'll be homegrown only. Whereas by the sounds of what you were saying before, CPL will actually have a chance of internationals playing in it.
Yeah, and I think they might even still get the overseas if they want to, and then put them through the whole biosecure process and contain the teams and put them in clusters and move, maybe even play them at a handful of venues through a east, west, north, south regions, and then bring them in for a finals day.
Yep.
It will be truncated, and it'll be competitions like we haven't seen before, but
Yep. Yep.
it'll be for entertainment. So it will be, yeah. It's nice to actually know that cricket is coming back, and we're going to be seeing some cricket.
Well,
Live
as I say,
cricket.
look, you look. I mean,
Yep.
I am actually quite excited to see that West Indies England. That means it's not really that far away at all, is it?
Yeah, it's July, I think it might
Hang
be.
on, I've got it up. Oh no, I had it up here now. Oh no, there it is. July 8th. July 8th. So basically a month away.
Yeah, month away. And man, think about the viewership. People are
Yep.
starved. Yeah. Oh, the
Yep.
viewership will be huge. And
Oh,
I'm
look,
really
I know. Yeah, I know personally for myself, I'm waiting to get down to level 1 so that we could, go watch some rugby at Eden Park even. So I just want to get out there and see sport.
Can I throw this out there?
Throw it out there. Throw it out there.
Fake crowd noise
Yep.
for the TV punter. I'm
Yep.
loving it. I'm loving it. It makes it look like there's a real atmosphere at the ground.
What about those cardboard cutouts of that English politician they had?
Well, they've had the English politician and they've had a mass murderer.
Mass murderer, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So actually, I think he was a doctor, and he's acclaimed to be the most. I can't think of the right words, but he killed the most people. Basically,
Was it
he's
Dr.
the biggest mass
Euthanasia?
murderer.
Euthanasia or something? Yeah, I'm
They're-
pretty
they're-
sure it
That's
was.
harsh to say he's killed people.
No.
Yeah, but that's what
he was. Yeah, he's down as being a as that.
Wow,
But-
we're really expanding here with our topic today.
But I wanted to say, before COVID lockdown,
You also had the Australian chat show that then decided to superimpose Adolf Hitler on the day of Black Lives Matters.
Now, here's a big question.
Yes.
If things in America continue on a cricketing front, would they blacklist USA cricket as they did to South Africa years ago? Something to think about. That's too far.
Yeah. I mean, jeez. That's. I think. Yeah. Well, it's not just too early, but I think it's a different scenario. It's a
You've already
50.
had Sammy. You've got Sammy and Gail come out in support of racism and stuff.
Oh no,
right?
don't get me wrong.
They might
The
say we don't want to play
support.
against USA. They might say we don't want to play against USA.
Yeah, but I think
we don't want to play.
I think when you look at the South African scenario, where basically you were told you're not allowed to play, versus the fact there's nobody's being told necessarily you're not allowed to do X, Y, Z. This is the treatment that they might be getting. But yeah, I think that's drawing a long bow.
I think so. In South Africa, you had you had sections like this section of the bus is for black people, this section of the bus is for white people, or black people aren't allowed on this bus. So it's not at that level. Whilst it's
actually, all the best teams have African American players anyway. So
yeah, and just anybody able to expand on what Simon's just said? USA cricket only just been allowed to come back into the ICC.
They were banned for misdemeanors, corruption. They got thrown out of whatever division they were in, all the way down to Div 5, and they had to eke their way back up through wins. And as soon as they started winning, a certain subcontinental nation started sniffing around and thrust a whole heap of their personnel into all the decision-making positions.
Oh, right.
Which meant the bloke who brought them from Div 5 to Div 1 or 2
is
now out.
He's out because
the guy
he's
that
been...
all the players worship, who happened to be from another cricketing South Asian nation, is no longer there. But the more powerful nation is now calling the shots, because the most amount of hits on cricket info, apparently, away from the subcontinent, is from the USA.
Oh, look, I mean, I've got masses. Rohit and myself have masses of family in the US, and they still follow cricket.
Do they?
Obviously, to varying degrees. Some will keep a sort of glancing eye on it, and then we've got others. My cousin's husband, who basically has the cricket on 24/7, even though he's been living in America for, I don't know, over 30 odd years. They've still got the cricket on 24/7 on the TV.
Mm. Oh yeah, yeah.
Take the man out of India, eh?
Yeah,
Still gotta watch, still gotta watch his cricket.
Oh, well, boys, I suppose unless there's something else you want to add, we'll wrap it up there.
Yeah, absolutely. We
Yeah.
No, that's gone by pretty quickly. Yeah,
That's
man,
gone by pretty quickly. It has. Look, so absolutely, everybody, thank you very much for watching the show again. Once again, Swinging from the Hip. Thank you to Rohit and Tarun for being on the show again. And as I said, make sure that we go and like, but more importantly, share it. Share, and share. Sharing is caring. And wherever you are, hit those like buttons and share buttons. And we'll see you again next week, right here on New Zealand Sport Radio with Swinging from the Hip. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.